Do we think, what do we think this is? Is that the stem of the pumpkin head coming out of this little girl's head? Why does it look so large? I can't think of what else it would be. I feel like it's a stem, right? Yeah, I got nothing. I've been thinking of stories to tell over my speed coloring videos. And usually the images give me like some sort of idea, I guess. But I think I want to find an alien, excuse me, I think I want to find an alien coloring book. Or a UFO. Yeah, right? What is that? I don't know. I think it's a stem. I don't know. I also don't know why I sound so hoarse right now, but I think I want to get a UFO coloring book. And I think it would be fun to collect UFO stories to tell over the speed coloring videos. There's got to be like a good UFO one out there where I can talk about UFO news while coloring the images. I don't know yet. I don't know if things have been a little quiet lately or if I just haven't been paying attention because things have been going on. I did see something about Dr. Mossbridge on See with Tebow yesterday, but I haven't watched it yet because I think it was like a live, might have been a live interview or just an interview, but it was a lot longer than the others, so. Oh, I've been reading HB's book more because he wants to go into, she did get published. I saw her name pop up for a second, but I didn't even read what it was. I just saw something that it was past the peer study, right? But I didn't, is it about the plates? Anyways, what I was going to say is that I kept reading HB's book yesterday because he wants me to talk about the chapter of his brother who had a near-death experience, since that's what the most recent telepathy tapes is about. And he starts going into the Book of Enoch, like at the very next chapter that I started reading. So I'm like, no wonder he kept saying, keep reading. Because he does, like, he goes into coming across the Book of Enoch, and maybe, I don't know if there are other books that weren't included, and then he, like, cross-referenced the Bible and the Book of Enoch, trying to, like, find things that were misaligned or whatever, and it's actually really interesting. So anyways, though, let's go back to Dr. Villarreal for a second. Was she published for her findings on the Harvard plates, like the anomalies? HP, I was just talking about you. Was she published for her Harvard plates on the anomalies, or was it for something else? This orange is almost out. 2 papers, the things in orbit and the correlation with the nuke tests and the UAP sightings. So like the increase of sightings during nuclear testing times and around nuclear facilities, etc. All right. Have you read the papers or you just watched interviews? I'm excited to look more into our, 614, is that one out? Also, let me know how the sound is. Different record, a little louder. I think this thing is still picking up the audio though, so. Okay. One is on the Nature website, all right. Man, my markers are starting to run out already. In my head, I did not expect this to become an expensive hobby. But like, I'm gonna have to replace these markers like all the time. Okay, sound is good. You've read the papers. Okay. We're going with the purple people eater. Alright. I need to go back and check it out. HB, did you see that Dr. Mossbridge has like an hour-long episode on See with TiVo that came out yesterday? I don't know if it's just an interview or if it's a live interview or what it is. I saw it and I saved it. Man, I don't have very many purples and they are all done for, which is kind of funny because purple is... I used to say it was my least favorite color, and I don't know that that's the case anymore, but like it's definitely not among my favorites, and yet it's like the first series of colors to have gone out were all my purples. And the marker's low like this, it takes a lot longer to color a section. We're making it work. And this marker's going out to pasture. Okay, I think that's as good as that's getting. Okay, so Pavel put links. Okay, he's great, Pavel. I really like him. I really do. I feel like it came out of nowhere. I'm sure he didn't, but I feel like it came out of nowhere and has just been really consistent and very hardworking, and he's very quick to apologize, correct, admit any faults. Like, I don't know, there's just something about him I really like. I think it's his earnestness, if that makes sense. He just seems very earnest. I have your book with me, HB. I told Andy that I kept reading and I came across... I got through the Your Brother in the Leaf. And I was telling Andy how you started, like, the few chapters before that, you started talking about the Book of Enoch. It was very interesting. Oh, so is that your anxiety scar chapter? The Crucible. Hello, humans. I know. What's up, human? Or what's he say? What's he say? Hello, everybody. Or welcome, humans, or something like that. Happy Monday. Oh, there's still one more song. I thought that the record was over. Oh, Roman. Thanks, love. I love my nails, too. I like sparkly nails, and I love red. This red sparkly's got my name all over it. I did them for the wedding that I just got back from in Santa Fe, but I will probably keep them all the rest of October. We'll see. I have some Halloween nails I could switch to at some point, but maybe I'll do that for a little bit, because I can wear these for Christmas and stuff too. Okay, let's think here. Why 255? As you guys have seen, I've been working to go back and get some shorts made from the old telepathy tapes videos. Hey Tara, good morning, girl. How's Ohio? Working on getting more shorts out. Oh, good. I will. We'll go over it, HB. We will. We're a little time passing here. I've got the book sitting right here next to me. And I do think it's a very interesting story. I really wanted to move on to the chapter after that, the Walking on Water chapter, but that one's one of your longer chapters, and I was going to bed, so I did not read past My Brother in the Leaf, but I'm going to keep, I really want to, because I want to know where that story goes. You guys see okay? And I'm interested for sure. It was very interesting to hear about your brother's story. But yeah, I'll read it here in a little bit. Gotta color my puppy here. I have been dreaming lately, speaking of, but I haven't been remembering them very much when I woke up, or when I wake up. I did dream last night, so I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, just like my annual physical, and I love my doctor. I love my doctor so much. She has, for multiple reasons. But in my dream last night, I dreamt, so sometimes I use Chinese ear seeds. I think I mentioned this before, no one cared, but sometimes I use Chinese ear seeds, which are like, if you're not familiar, like little stickers. They look like little square Band-Aids that have a seed or a ball in the middle of them, and you apply them to pressure points in your ear, and then you stimulate them to, like, apply pressure on the pressure point to get relief in other areas, like XYZ. And I don't have any in right now, but for whatever reason, I dreamt last night that I did have them in when I went to the doctor's appointment yesterday, and I was telling her all about it. And I don't know why. My doctor is Chinese, and I didn't have them in. Like, it was just a weird dream. Hold on, I gotta flip the record. It's pretty. Let me show you. How beautiful. Let me see, am I in the screen? Yeah, isn't that a cool vinyl? This is my friend Zach. Oh, hey Rob, morning. Okay, so his chapter's so long you broke it up. So the Walking on Water is the second part of your brother's chapter. Hey girl. Your doctor asked you to stop coming. She referred you somewhere else. Kind of dated a nurse on a couple of secretaries from her office. Rob. You dog. Stop dating the people you visit. Thanks, Rob. I think this is a bookshelf, so we're gonna keep going with this weird yellowy, greenish brown. So you had to go to a different doctor because you dated half the staff. I mean, that's wild. On that note, funny enough, I have asked no less than I have 10 people probably that I am personally friends with in the medical industry if it is inappropriate for me to become friends with my doctor, because we get along so well. I know she likes me too. We have a friend crush on each other, and she likes my husband. I know we have a friend crush on each other. I know, you just know. And we want to be friends so bad, but I don't think we can professionally. I have no idea. I've never asked her on a friend date, but Lord would I. She is so cool. She's so smart. She has saved my ass. It's just, I always wonder if it's, all of my friends that are in the medical field say it's okay, but I just don't believe it. So I haven't ever asked her out. But I want to. Ohio White House? God, I don't want to talk about the White House right now. Sorry, I'm focusing. Sure you can tell. I do have a little personal good news, which is nice. One of my clients that had previously, he wasn't ghosting me. We have a contract, but he was dragging his feet, so I couldn't do my part, and which means I couldn't work. And because I'm a contract worker, like I'm hired for my hours on this project versus a project cost, which just depends on my client, what I'm doing for them. But this client's an hourly client, but I couldn't keep working until I could get him to participate more because I needed information, and he's finally becoming more active and more responsive, and I'm very excited to have like a little bit of work. So unrelated, but you know, sharing personal good news. It is cold. Well, I don't know where you're at, Rob, but it feels like it's cold all over the place. Are you the one that's in Chicago? It was, when I was in Santa Fe, it was like that. It just was freezing. How far are we in? Okay, we're only in 20 minutes, so we're going to wait a little bit for reading your stuff, HB, if that's okay with you. Okay, that's right, Rob. Can I ask you again how old you are? I'm sorry if I don't remember. I know I asked half a dozen people at this point, but I always forget. Are you the one that's like 30, 31? Okay, you're the one that's my age, because I turned 38 in April. That's right. Sorry, I'm thinking about colors. I know I say it every day, but I wish I had all the time in the world so that I could catch up on the UAP news, write all the scripts, do all the videos, do all the like, I just wish there was more time. Oh, Year of the Rabbit. Is that where we are? I always forget. 87, right? Yeah. Okay. What color do I do? I need to make some like base decisions because this is getting weird with the colors. What color is the floor and the walls? I know I'm going to bring a green in, but I don't know where. Color Tunes Develop Mini. I'm not sure what you're saying, babe. Okay, I can bring in some blues somewhere. Maybe the floors and walls are gray, and I keep all of the characters colorful. Why is this so hard to decide? You did not, Rob. That's amazing. So, two people fight. So one believed the earth was flat and one didn't, and they were arguing? Or was it two flat earthers against others? Okay. I think I'm making decisions here. She's teal. And maybe the little poofs they're sitting on are blue? Shades of blue? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right, we're gonna make this dog monster thing teal. Oh, see, this is nice when the marker is not dry. It's so satisfying. Ah, I love it so much. HB, or anybody actually, does anybody know how frequently they're going to be dropping the telepathy tapes? Like, is it weekly or bi-weekly? I didn't hear them say in the podcast if they, like, the frequency they were planning. And I just wasn't sure if anyone else was aware. Because I want to, of course, get my content out in a timely fashion. As opposed to last time it took forever and I was doing it after the whole podcast series was done. I don't want to do that. I do miss listening to the birds in the morning, but this music is so peaceful to me. There is a TT Shore of episode 2 coming. So what I did was yesterday when I was doing errands and like going to the doctor and everything, I re-listened to my content. I only got through episode 6 before I had to reorient myself onto something else. But I got through episode 6, time-stamping areas that I want to make shorts on. And once I am done with this little lady's face, I will tell you this section I was thinking of doing a short on for episode 2. Although I did think of you, HB, because Kai said that Amelia was going to be coming into the fold a little bit more in season 2, I think. And I know that Amelia, you really resonated with her story. Wait, the short on 2 has dropped. What do you mean? So wait, are you talking about from the telepathy tapes? They're doing shorts? Is that what you're saying? I thought you were talking about my shorts. I haven't seen theirs, so I was unaware of that. Let's see. Okay, so for episode 2, I was just going to talk about apraxia. Okay, I will look. Let's see. YouTube. So they're doing little videos here and there. Okay. I see. All right. I need to catch up. Those have not come across my feed. Of course not. Why would they? That would make sense. All right. How are you doing? 27? All right. We're on the halfway mark, HB. We will veer into your book for a bit. I'm gonna make this tail brown too. I want to make this little spider on his back purple, but I'm just worried about these colors lasting. I mean, it's just a little guy. It'll be all right. Oh, what? Now you're fine? A second ago, this marker was threatening to quit. I will say, HB, after the intermission in your book, it did get a little bit easier for me to read in terms of like before then you're talking a lot about biblical chapters and specific verses and things like that, and I think that's where I got a little overwhelmed. But now that is a little bit less so as I kept reading. I'm going to do this. Got to bring the colors around. Okay, let's figure out these blues. Yeah. Yes, exactly, HB. I remember you mentioning that. Tara, modest mom. Own a thread on a network attached. Queens of the South, you. Okay, interesting. Your PTSD section was hard. Like, it hurts my heart for you. I mean, so much of this hurts my heart for you because it sucks. It's not easy. It was never easy. I'm glad that you're with us now and in such a healthier place, it seems. Okay, let's figure out these blues. See, I have all of these really dark colors that are great, but I don't use them because, like, these are all like the same, right? They're barely any different. Even when they dry, they're so dark that, like, if you have any detail, you kind of lose it. It just kind of sucks. I guess we'll do BO25. I'm sure this one's got some juice in it. I'm glad your brother's still alive, too. I am really excited to get to the Walking on Water. I wanted to keep reading, but I was like, I'm going to fall asleep, and I am not going to retain it, so I stopped myself. But I will probably read it today, just because you've hooked me now. For sure. And it was really interesting to hear, I was telling Andy this at the very beginning, it was really interesting to hear how you started cross-checking things with the Book of Enoch and, you know, all of those other details. It was just very cool. Hold on. Has anyone else read the Bluest Eye essay book? Sad book? No. No, I have not. Wait. Bluest Eye sad book? Is it a sad book or is it called that? Also, no, I don't like things that are sad. I think the world is sad enough that I can't do it for entertainment. I know that that is probably naive and childish of me, but it's where I'm at in life. See, this blue looks so dark. Yeah, the Book of Enoch, I can see it. I think that's what hooked me, HB, is because I realized it was one of your earliest clues. It's when you started questioning things, and I loved seeing you go back and forth between, like, well, the Enoch said this, the Bible said that. That didn't make sense, but it makes sense if Enoch's real. And, like, it was very cool to see how much work and time you put into studying this stuff. I don't know that there's ever a way or will, but I personally, if you haven't, I think you should send your book to um, Andy. Only if you want. Just making connections. Andy's got a website where there's an email if either of you are interested. But I just think that with Andy's education and knowledge on the subject, he'd be an interesting contributor to the conversation. All right, I'm going to do these blue puffs they're sitting on the dark blue. I'm not crazy about this idea, but I need to bring the blue back in. The other option would be to do the floor in the blue. Okay, polling the audience of 2 people, it looks like. However, there's more of you commenting, so I don't know how many are actually here. Should I do this dark blue that I used her horns and nails? Should I do the floor? All these spots this dark blue? Or should I do the poofs that the kids are sitting on in the dark blue? I think HB has an agent. And the books are still kind of underway. Like, you're still writing the second book a little bit, right? I mean, I know I have it, but I don't think it's complete. But as far as I know, he has an agent. It's just not there yet. It still needs edited. I know he needs a cover, but editing has to come first, right? I mean, we can do the cover without it, but like editing is the next step in terms of getting published, right? Okay, no one has given me an option. Anyone have an opinion? Floor or poofs for the blue? First one to answer wins. Thank you, Rob. You might be the only one here. Yeah, there's Andy. HB, again, I'm not trying to pressure you into sharing it with more people, but if you're willing, I think it would be really cool for Andy to... Ooh, I don't like that, HB. Didn't help you publish, but instead used you as inspiration for their own work. I don't like that. But anyways, as I was saying, I don't want to peer pressure you. By all means, do what you're comfortable with. But if you're interested, I really think Andy would be a good person to throw this past also. It might help contribute to the conversations throughout this too. But I'll drop it now. That way, it's up to you. Are you doing 35 minutes? I'm going to finish the floor, and then we'll read your brother's chapter real quick. And as a reminder again for everyone, this chapter, the reason that we're talking about this is because the first episode of season 2 of the telepathy tapes is about near-death experiences, and his brother definitely had a near-death experience. And it's outlined in the book. It's sad, but he's alive, so it has a happy ending, even if that's not in the chapter directly. This floor looks really dark, but I feel like it's gonna get better. There's no way that side of the record's done. Really? Okay, hold on. I'm going to finish this, swap the record, refill the coffee, and then we're going to read. I don't want to leave the needle on the record. Okay. I know, I know, Andy does have an MIB. But you're right. Is that why you don't want to send it to him? Because they're checking his email? Yeah, if Hennessy doesn't cooperate and you need a backup plan, is that kind of where I come in? I'm not sure. Let me get this record. I really hope I don't get copyrighted for this one. This is the next one I'm bringing out. I love the cover. It's like 80s sci-fi. I don't know which side is first. All right. Cover. So it's my friend Zach. I hope you can hear me. If you go into the description of the live, I have his link tree. Amazing artist. Amazing artist, amazing artist. All right, let me get coffee. Okay, we're back. Did everyone leave me? Bingo! I am an intuitive empath. Thanks, HB. Alright. You check him out. Hannah dropped a new pic. Oh, I haven't seen it. Although I talk to her every day. Empaths are feelings or seeing? Feeling. Caring for others. Yeah, definitely feeling. I gotta turn this music down. This album's a little louder. Okay. Alright, kids, let's read. Reading break. All right, everyone. Class is in session. This one's a little longer, but it's important. So we're going to read this real quick. All right. So, from HB's first book, this is the chapter My Brother and the Leaf. All right. Leading up to this, his brother was going into surgery. Wasn't expected to be a terribly complicated surgery, but it had to do with his heart. I think he had a heart murmur, if I remember right. And at the same time, HB caught a cold or a sinus infection or something and was sick and couldn't go to the hospital when his brother went into surgery. And that's where we lead into this chapter, right, HB? Trusting that I remember that correctly. So the chapter starts. I was very weak and wore out the day of my brother's surgery as the antibiotics were working, but I had continued to go to work as I managed to not get worse. But all I was doing was sleeping when I got home. I didn't want to take the time off so that I would have personal time off from work to be able to see my brother when I felt better again after his surgery. As long as I was managing, I waited for God's plan. It wasn't long as I was at work when my cell phone exploded with text messages. They were from my mother. Though they were text, I could see that she was having trouble dealing with her emotions, as many misspelled words told me. But she was trying to give me the information that she knew. What I could make out was that my brother's surgery had failed. The minor tear in the cartilage turned out to be heart disease, and the stitches weren't holding. The surgeon decided to replace the valve, and the entire surgery took about 11 hours. From what I could make out of the messages was that he was emergency transferred to another hospital, as there was a surgeon there that thought he could save him because of the complications. I couldn't make out exactly what was happening, but I knew it was bad. My mother's last text was that he was stable but still in a coma, and it would be another couple days before the doctors would bring him out of his coma to give him his heart time to recover. I felt relieved that my brother survived the ordeal, but I knew that this was part of the plan, and I'd have to be ready to help my family spiritually when he recovered. I'd hoped that when the doctors brought my brother out of the coma, he would be all right, as there was much speculation that his brain could have been oxygen deprived, or that he may be a vegetable even if he did survive. His heart was so weak that was the main focus of the doctors, and every minute of his life was in the balance. I prayed that God would protect him and give me the strength to do his work when he asked me. My cold was getting better and the antibiotics were working, but I knew I couldn't go see my family in my condition. I started to tell others at work about my brother's story just to relieve the anxiety, and they were all very consoling, and we knew the chances of his recovery were dim. There was a day of silence, the Sabbath, before the doctors would bring him out of his coma. Everything was very still with anticipation, as God has not given me a message. But there was peace in me knowing that God was in control, so I had peace when I went to bed. Rest is what I needed more than anything to prepare me for the things to come. I was at work when my cell phone exploded again. It was my mother, and she told me bad news, that my brother's heart did not respond when they tried taking him off life support. My mother again was emotional with her texting, but what I could make out was that the surgeon was putting in a left ventricle. That's the word. Ventricle assist device, LVAD, in his heart to hopefully save him. My mother was an LPN. She was a nurse. So she had tried to explain the procedure over the phone, and I could make out that the surgeon had gone through an artery in my brother's neck. I worked in a factory in the medical industry. Orthopedics? I'm guessing. So I had access to videos of these procedures. So a friend of mine brought up the computer on the LVAD procedure. He told me that it was a procedure that they used before a heart transplant, and it made perfect sense. He looked sincerely at me and said, "Good luck." I understood what it meant, but there was something in my mother's text that came back to me. I told him this isn't what the surgeon did, that my mother said he went through the neck and not through the chest. He assured me that this was the only way to do the procedure, and I told him he was correct, but my discernment told me something else. Hey Brian, good morning. How are you? Yes, I'm reading a chapter from HB's book on his brother's near-death experience. We're about halfway through. All right. I checked my mother's text again, and indeed it said the procedure went through his artery in his neck. Could she have misunderstood what the surgeon was telling her? Did the surgeon actually take his device and install it in his right ventricle and attempt to strengthen the surgical area? It wasn't long before my mother texted me back that the surgeon had installed the right ventricle assist device. I looked it up, and there is no such device. My speculation in my mind was confirmed that the surgeon had taken the LVAD and put it in my brother's right ventricle to strengthen it. If this was so, it was apparent that this was a desperation operation to save his life. His life was in God's hands now. Every day after the operation, the bad news kept coming. My brother had pneumonia. His organs were in the beginning stages of shutdown. The complications mounted as another week went by, and still no improvement. I'd received no messages from God as I prayed more and more frequently. Finally, my mother said that my brother's wife had asked for me, and I told her that I was sick, but that I would take off work on Friday to come see her and my brother. The next day was Wednesday, and I realized that I only had my brother's cell phone, so I tried to text it to see if his wife had his phone. Before I did, I started to have a vision of when my brother and I were about 10 years old. My brother loved to climb, and he would climb as high in a tree as he could just to show his fearlessness. This vision was the most fearless thing I remembered he did, and as he was challenged to pick a leaf that was at the very end of a branch, some 30 or 40 feet off the ground, he took the challenge and it seemed impossible. The climb itself was very dangerous, but he took his time until finally he arrived at the tiny branch. I started to watch as he hooked his fingers of his left hand at the last little twig of the branch on this small limb. Spreading his legs almost in a split position on the tiny branch brought him about a foot short of the leaf. The branch itself was now hanging some 8 feet lower than its original position, but was still 30 feet off the ground. It was quite a sight to behold, but at that moment, as he stretched to reach the leaf, I couldn't watch anymore. I realized that at that moment, if the branch broke or if he fell, that it would be me that would have to tell my mother how he had died, and the grief was overwhelming me. God knew in my heart that I desperately wanted him to protect my brother, and the cheering of the other children told me he had. I finally looked up as my brother made it to the safer branches and was so relieved when he made it to the ground with the hero's welcome by the other children. He then came straight to me and slowly opened his hand, revealing the leaf. There was nothing extraordinary about the leaf, but not long ago it was hanging securely at the end of the most dangerous climbing branch. At that moment, I heard the words in my head. The words I heard in my head was this, quote, "I protected him then, I will protect him now," end quote. I put the phone down before I made my call. Was this from God? If it was definitely asking me to have a lot of faith. Just then, that warm feeling of like a blanket covering me happened again as the Spirit encouraged me to give God's message. Joy overcame me as I picked up the phone and I called my brother's cell phone. His wife answered, to my relief, and she was overwhelmed. Glad to hear from me, she soon filled me in on the desperation of the situation. The surgeon had given my brother the largest dose of antibiotics he could and had told her that if he didn't show improvement by Saturday, that he was going to have to pull the plug on my brother's life support. He had given her a hug, and now she sat there with this sad realization that she would probably lose him. Okay, I'm almost done. We good on the record? Of course not. Man, short records. I forget how. Oh, no, we're good. All right. With the Spirit guiding me, I told her that it was just a test of faith. Your husband is the toughest guy I know. He's fearless. You just keep telling him that you love him and that God's protecting him. And I'll be there Friday. She felt relieved that I called and was showing confidence in what I had told her as we hung up. As I sat there, I realized whose faith was really being tested. In the face of reality, I was being asked to walk on water. God was going to have to show us and the world his power, and I could not back down. Let the test of fire begin. As I went to work the next day, I filled my coworkers in on the dire situation. They gave their condolences, and they were all very sympathetic. That's when my test of faith began. I told each one of them that my brother was the toughest, most fearless guy I knew. He wasn't very big, but he wasn't scared of anyone or anything, and with God's help, he was going to be all right. They were astonished about my claim because working in the medical industry, we all knew, without a miracle, what the outcome would be. Some friends tried to remind me that it would probably be for the best and that he would never be the same, but I insisted God would protect him. They were impressed with my faith, but I could feel their sorrow. Now it was time to help my family. As I woke up Friday morning, I had a good feeling as I prayed that I believed what God was showing me. I was on my way to pick up my brother's wife. The vision kept coming back to me with God's reassurance. Just then I received a text from his wife that the antibiotics seemed to be working as his white blood count was down, which was a good sign. Was it good enough to call off pulling the plug? It was still a premature, but it was a good sign nonetheless. I felt stronger about what I had to do by the time I arrived at my brother's house to pick up his wife. The story I had been reading about Job in the Bible had given me what I needed to say. It was just a test of faith. She was still overwhelmed, but glad that finally, after 2 weeks, something was positive. I reassured her that this was a good sign and that we just needed to talk to him and to let him know that God is taking care of him. It was over an hour drive to the hospital, and all I did was tell her to keep telling him how much you love him all the time. We arrived at the hospital, and as I said a prayer to God to give me the words to say, and this is what happened. As we got off the elevator in the ICU floor, she led me to his room, and after cleansing up, I prepared myself for what I would see. With so many machines around him, there was only about a foot of space to get next to him. I was warned that his eyes were slightly opened, but he wasn't awake as they were glossed over. Basically, he looked like a cadaver on life support, but this was my brother. I looked past what might have overwhelmed me most, and I did what I was asked to do. In a cheerful voice, like a good friend you haven't seen in a while, I said, "There he is, my hero, the toughest guy I know." I startled the male nurse with my enthusiasm, as the atmosphere was more like a funeral viewing than I imagine most ICU wings I've noticed can be. I thought to myself how difficult it must be to work in an atmosphere of life and death every day, and I have the utmost respect for anyone who does this. I immediately started to tell my brother and everyone in the room the story of my brother in the leaf, and I could tell that it was something that they all needed to hear. How many times do we not know what to say to comfort someone when they need it most? As I finished the story, the nurse told me to keep talking to him. His numbers on the monitors were going up. I said that he can still hear me, and he's in there. He's just really tired. Then, holding his hand, I said, quote, you get your rest, bro. God's got you." I prayed that if it was God's will, make my brother well, and I left the room. I spoke with his wife in the waiting room, and I could see that she was starting to feel better. We were both impressed with his response, and I kept telling her that this was a good sign and that we're almost done. That I had a good feeling that they were going to leave him on life support. Now it was time to convince the rest of the family. Of course, in case we're fine there. As I went into the waiting room, my mother, sister, and stepfather were there. They all looked worn out from the 16 days of bad news. We were all trying to think about what appeared to be what their last words to my brother would be. My heart poured out to them, and with this compassion, I greeted them warmly, listened to their concerns, and confidently told them this is just a test of faith, and I began to tell them the story of the leaf. They were astonished that I could remember such a good story about my brother from so long ago, and that thought cheered them up. The reality of the situation, though, was too overwhelming for them to have that kind of hope. I told them about how his antibiotics seemed to be working and the numbers on the machine's monitoring were going up as I was talking to him, so there was a chance they may leave him on support a little longer. My family decided the best thing would be for them to remember the good stories about him and to retell them to him, and this encouraged all of them. I felt really good about giving them all hope and something to focus on, as it would be less than 12 hours for the doctors to change their minds. All of the family would be coming tomorrow to say goodbye to him, so it would be a very challenging day. My mother would be the hardest to convince, as she was a nurse, and she knew that only a miracle could save him now. I had already been given a miracle once with the promise, so I knew he could and would do it again. As I rode back to my brother's home with his wife, I kept reassuring him that the doctors had good reason to keep him on life support, and for her to have faith in God and that he would take care of him. I had another hour drive to get home from there, and I felt in my heart God was going to take care of him and that I had done what he had asked me to do. I prayed the rest of the day, and I knew I would have to be prepared to support my family, whatever happens. End of chapter. And then we get to the really long one about walking on water. So, we do know that HP's brother survived, which is amazing. I don't know how the rest of this goes. But the story of the leaf, and realizing that thinking of that story and then sharing that story was bringing your brother back, and then was the catalyst for you to encourage others to do the same with him, which seems to be what helped strengthen him, if I'm understanding right. And it's really curious because my grandmother almost passed away just a couple weeks ago, less than a month ago probably. And we went down to say goodbyes, and she made it back. And my mom keeps joking that she has 9 lives. But that was the story of HB's brother. And where we are so far. So thanks for sitting and listening, guys. All right. We can totally continue to talk about this. And I'm going to keep coloring. So, anyone that wants to chime in with their thoughts, I just did a lot of talking. He had 1/4% of chance to live. That's wild. With my grandmother, they were like, oh, come say your goodbyes. They think they gave her like 24 to 48 hours, and then she came back. It was astonishing. Okay, so we did dark blue. I'm glad he's okay too. I really am. Okay, so we did dark blue on the floors. Yeah, I think it's still interesting. It's still hard for me because I've said the word God more times reading your book, or even thinking the word God reading your book, than I have since high school. The G word has always been a trigger word for me. So I'm proud of myself, but I'm also excited that you got me out of my comfort zone. All right, let me flip this real quick. Not. Okay. Yeah, I know you say that, HB, and I love that. Funny enough, when I was in Santa Fe, my discernment failed me at one point. Hmm, hold on, let's think here real quick. Let me grab a marker and go from here. Let's do. I kind of hate this R913. When I was in Santa Fe, where's 913? We were trying to get to the Rail Runner, which is the train that runs from, when I was in Albuquerque going to Santa Fe. The Rail Runner is the train that goes between the two. And we were in a really weird area of town. And you know what? That's what we're going to do. BG 05 and 03. Never mind. BG 05, BG 03. We got turned around at the train. It's a little confusing over there. And somebody messed with us and told us we needed to go a completely different direction, that we were in the wrong area, that the construction was doing it, and he told us where to go. It was only a little while into that venture that it occurred to me that that guy was just fucking with us, and he sent us in the completely wrong way. Not a huge ordeal. Someone else helped us. We got there. It was fine. But usually my discernment is pretty quick to tell me whether or not I can trust someone, or trust what they were saying. And I like to think that it was simply because we were flustered and whatever, and I just wasn't fully present to catch that this guy was just fucking with me. Land of the enchantment. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, he could see auras. My grandma doesn't remember anything from any of the times she's been kind of in and out. That's really exciting. Does he remember you guys talking to him? The land of enchantment is the New Mexico motto. Is it really? I loved New Mexico. It was kind of funny. Everybody we talked to, be it, a server, a bartender, an Uber driver, every one of them said, oh, well, when you come back, go do this. When you come back, go do this. No one said if you come back. Everyone said when you come back. And finally, by like the third time I made that comment to someone, I was like, it's so funny. Everyone keeps saying when you come back. And they were like, literally, you will come back. They were like, everyone comes back. You never go once. And I was like, that's so interesting. Like, no one even batted an eye. Like, if someone came here to my area, I would totally say, well, if you come back, we'll go do this. If you come back, we'll whatever, check that out. I would never instinctively be like, oh, you'll definitely be back, and this is what you should do, the way that New Mexicans were. I think Illinois and Mexico, or New Mexico, and like New York and a couple of them are sanctuary cities. Is that what you're thinking when you talk about sovereign? Or was it something else? Also, HB, did you answer? No. I'm curious if your brother remembers the conversations that people were having with him. Or like, I know you said he could see auras, but I'm wondering if he actually remembers what you guys said to him. Or if he remembers, like, if he could actually hear you. Or if he had any out-of-body experience, like we keep hearing about with the near-death. It does make me want to do the gateway tapes again, in terms of the out-of-body idea. I'm just kind of going willy-nilly here. Rob, I think it's Illinois, like New Mexico. I think New York, California, Colorado, a lot of like the big democratic states, I think are all sanctuary. But I thought those were sanctuary cities, not sanctuary states. So maybe I'm wrong. Oh, sanctuary city. Okay. So wait, what's Illinois' motto? He said that was all he remembered, but he could tell from my aura that it was you. Really? Did he say how he could tell? Like, was it a knowing, or did the auras have like different colors or different sizes? You know what? We're gonna do this cabinet brown also. Oh, I don't even know if I'm in the frame. I hope you guys can see. You were bright white. Were other people different colors? Sorry, I have a million questions about auras. I think they're fascinating. I also, you guys know I have a secret love of human design. It's probably, I always say, it's the most crazy thing that I consider a possibility. Definitely the craziest thing that I kind of believe in. Well, that and the moon. I've got some weird beliefs around the moon, but in human design, I have a apparently repelling aura, which sounds awful, but it's supposed to be a protective thing. And so I'm always so curious about auras and what people experience. So he did see different colors. That's so cool. Dr. Hennessy, when she first got into all of this, I remember the story she told about working in the ER and coming across a woman who was seeing auras and said that Dr. Hennessy's aura was bright white. And that's why I wasn't sure, like, if they're all bright white or if they're different colors. I mean, I imagine it's different for different people, but... I love that these kids are cowering over a story about a unicorn. The second moon? Hold on. I got an ad. Let me get this off my screen. Okay, let's see. Did you hear about the second moon that we got now? Fight or flight, or the moon. Moon's moon is more of a proper description, I guess. Dr. Hennessy is an enlightened empath. That's why I trust her. Okay, interesting. All curious things. Talk to me about this second moon. I feel like I heard a whisper of this somewhere, and I didn't look at it twice because I was like, that's weird. However, what is it? And Andy, if you're lurking, what do you know about it? It's easy to do. Like those 3D holographic books that we used to look at back in the day. Look through the person and not at the person. Then you can see the color around them. So, Brian, I'm glad you're chiming in, babe. I have heard that also. I've looked into this a little bit more than I'm probably admitting. But I've heard that there are kind of ways to kind of entrain yourself to see someone's aura. And I think that's why I get so curious, because if mine is repelling, if what does that look like to people who can see auras? Like, can they see that it's a protective thing? Or can I turn it on and off? Does it change? Like, I have so many, like, auras fascinate me. This is a great topic of conversation, in my opinion, because I'm so fascinated. And does it change, right? Like, I've had my aura photography done twice, and I've showed you guys before, at least whoever was here at the time, the photos, and the photos aren't the same. Like, the first time I did it, it was like mostly reds and oranges, and the second time I did it, it was like all the colors of the rainbow. But I know that the photo, or the aura photos are a little different than just seeing auras, you know? Okay, so there's an asteroid that would have hit us but got caught in the moon's gravitational pull and now is going around the moon. So it's the moon's moon. I heard about it the other day. I heard there is a lunar lander still orbiting the moon. So Andy, are you saying that you think that the moon's moon might be the lunar lander? Or is that just relative? Three-Eye Atlas. Speaking of weird shit in the sky, on the other side of the sun. Apparently, the 30th, next Thursday, is when it reaches its closest to us before it speeds off again, but it's still behind the sun. And someone was saying, I saw something that was talking about how they wondered if it would affect the electromagnetic pull on the Earth and how it might affect the Schumann resonance. And basically, they were theorizing that they wondered, not that it was true, but that they wondered if it would be possible that there could be some sort of conscious awakening while this is all happening because of the specific science of the electromagnetism. I'm not smart enough to make that one work in my head, but I thought it was really interesting. Okay, real quick. I think I'm going to do the wall color for the poofs. Right? So wait, Andy, what are you just saying? Are you saying that you think that this moon's moon is the lander? Or are you saying, what are you saying? What are you saying? Tell me what you're saying, because I don't understand. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to do the poofs in the light blue. I will say, adding a light over here has made these colors actually look more true now on camera. Before, I know they looked nothing like what it really was. Okay, we're talking about auras, the lunar landing, and the moon's moon. Tell me everything you guys know. I did see something about Avi Loeb talking about the density of Three-Eye Atlas not making sense. I found that very curious. Sounds about right, the science. I think he means that the lunar lander is also stuck in the moon's gravitational pull. Ah, I see. You don't know really. Okay. I see. I mean, I still think our moon is so weird. I think our moon is so weird. I know, Andy, you might, I'm projecting here, but you might be rolling your eyes right now. I know you've tried to explain to me before why the moon rings like a bell. And I know that you're smarter than me. But I like my theory. I think the moon is weird. I think the ancient stories of, like ancient stories of a time when there was no moon, or the time when there was two moons, I think it's like an ancient Chinese stories or something, where they talk about all these times when the moon was different. I mean, I think there's even an old parable about, like, gods bringing the moon into the orbit. It just makes me wonder if it's aliens. Or if we're the aliens. I'm convinced there's something going on the dark side of the moon. Me fucking too, buddy. Me too. I can't help it. I think it's strange the way it orbits and we never see the flip side. I feel like there's someone in science that will make it make sense, but in my brain, that just doesn't make sense. Also, the NASA photography tech, I don't know if he was NASA, but the photography tech that worked with NASA that came out and said he saw all these images, and then he thought that they were going to be on the news, and then they never came out, and then he came out and said all of this, and then I think he got hit by a car. Fascinating. And I also wonder if it's hollow. The moon is for sure not made out of cheese like we were told as kids. I mean, you're right, Rob. That's the only thing I do know about the moon. It's not made out of cheese. All right, kids, let's see here. What colors? We're almost done with the base, and then I'll add the shadows. I need to figure out what color the rug is that she's sitting on. Maybe next. Is that record still going? One more song. I also got to figure out the color of her jumper outfit and hers. No bugs. All right, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of the books in this purple. What is the name of the distorted planet theory that is now the asteroid belt? I don't know what that story is. HB? Anyone else know? Because please enlighten me. Do I make the horse, the unicorn purple? Yeah. These little details are really hard when the marker is on her last leg. Yeah, definitely got out of the lines there. Whatever. Okay, let's see. Like the sign, a Taurus, destroyed. I'm gonna need you guys to give me more adjectives than that. I'm gonna need more words. What do you mean? Toroidal asteroid field. Destroyed planet. Okay. Still only partial words, but I think I'm catching on. I need to bring in more orange, huh? I'm at that stage where I don't want to introduce too many colors and muddy it up. I've learned those lessons. We're improving. You're not for sure. Okay. What's that universe that's supposed to go supernova soon and we will be able to see it with a telescope, of course? Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the answer to your question. But I do know what you're talking about. I haven't done a lot of research into it myself, but I've seen it. Just making decisions here. Andy, do you know what the thing is that he's talking about? The supernova situation? Another record done. Okay. Flipping record. I'm just going to do this one again. Pick's coming along. It is coming along. Beetlejuice. Okay, yeah, you don't know, Andy. All right. I just assume you know everything. Picture is coming along. I'm gonna do some red in here. Wait, Beetlejuice is the answer? Really? I'm not questioning your actuality. I'm just surprised. I had no idea. I thought you were just saying that because of the picture. We're gonna do the clouds in this light bluish gray. Can you guys hear the marker on the paper? It's like some weird form of ASMR. Probably not. I don't have a good enough mic right here. Oh. Okay, Brian. So it's saying that the asteroid belt was not made from a single planet, but made from leftover materials from the formation of the solar system. Wow. Definitely beyond my brain power to understand that. I'm thinking about these leftover colors here. I feel like the background of this is the same as the background of the page. And because it's paper, we need to go light. So let's find a light color that still has some amount of juice in it. Pretty sure the marker that I want is out. Maybe. Did I just like throw it away because it went out? All right, so we're gonna do a different color. That's the destroyed planet theory, why the hollow moon moved into the tidal lock of the Earth. Okay, I have heard that. Betelgeuse means one central one or giant planet, rendering from Arabic to French, so it makes sense that that would be the name. Betelgeuse is part of Orion, top corner. See, that's because that one's pronounced. Is it? Do you still pronounce it Betelgeuse or is it Betelgeuse in that form of the word? I know I sound insane, but I feel like I know what I'm talking about a little bit. Okay, let's do. I guess we'll do this really, really light color for the paper and stuff. When you say Orion, it makes me think of all of those people on the internet that say that they're, what's the word that they use? Starseeds? And they claim to be from places like the Orion belt or from the Pleiadian, whatever. That stuff, my brain doesn't know how to process. You know, there's some of them you listen to and they sound nuts, but there's some that you listen to and you're like, I don't know, maybe. No, you make sense. I think we say Beetlejuice because of the movie, but Beetlegeist might be the correct version. Not sure what's the correct way to say it. Okay. The AI believes you don't exist. That's what I meant the second time. They don't just say it 3 times in a row, lol. It's showtime. In Greek mythology, Orion was a great hunter. I met a Beetlejuice impersonator at Disneyland probably, oh gosh, so long ago now. But he was such a good character actor, and it's probably such a fun character to play. HB, why does AI think you don't exist? Does it think any of us exist? Does it think it's talking back to more AI? All right, we're getting somewhere. A little bit. Orion is the son of Poseidon. See, the Greek mythology stuff, my brain doesn't hold all of that either, but I think it's fascinating. I mean, we all know I have a love of Medusa. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring in some yellow, I think. The yellow I always wanna use is out because I always use it, but we need to do some yellow stars, and then maybe we bring in the yellow. Is that weird? Do I care if it's weird? We're just coloring. Why not? Definitely classic Halloween costume. I have not heard about the new Odyssey movie. What is it? I don't know if I know the original Odyssey movie. Interesting color choice, Sundown. Of course, HB. How are we doing on time? 86 minutes. Okay, so I'm almost out of the time frame I'd like to be in. We're almost done. I do love Halloween. Normally, you guys can't see any of my decorations. Just these guys. Normally, I get real excited and interested in it early, but with all the traveling and weddings we had, it kind of just went by the wayside, and now I feel like it's coming up, and I just don't know. I'll probably go live on Friday on Halloween, just for fun. I'll wear my Halloween dress. HB, just so you know, in like a week or two, I'll archive this episode into the playlist, so it'll still be accessible, but you won't just be able to search for it. I'm just telling you that for your brother's sake. This little yellow green's doing its thing. It's okay. Do they all get yellow eyes? Yes. Oh my god, there's so much going on all of a sudden, you guys. I'm not religious, so no Christmas. It always surprises me in the midst of all this reading, HB. The 25th is not biblical. Next time I'm in Greece, you're going to run a boat, try to reincarnate the steps that he took from Troy back to Ithaca with all the stops along the way. Holy cow. I've never been to Greece. A rainbow aura symbolizes spiritual and energetic state of balance, flexibility, and spiritual progress. Interesting. Brian, were you on the live whenever it was when I showed the aura photos? Have you seen them? I was born in the spring, not December 25th, and I still haven't found all the premonition episodes. Still haven't found your premonition episode. What do you mean? Which episode, HB? Also, Rob, it makes me think of the Gregorian calendar and how they changed it because it didn't align, like it made Jesus's birthday fall in the wrong spot. Or no, maybe it was Easter. Never mind. That negates everything I was saying. Okay. So our teacher is getting a red jumper, I've decided. Oh, that, where you stole the truck. But you had the meeting. So do you think, HB, I think I asked you then, just because you've had a dream, what makes you decide that it's a premonition versus a dream? Like, what makes you believe that that part may happen? Or do you not until it does? Does that make sense? September? Definitely never heard that, but I'd be the last person to know. That's interesting. I really appreciate your guys' acceptance of where I am with religion, even though we talk about these things. It means a lot that I can be candid about my experiences or my comfortability or lack thereof, and yet still have these conversations and not be ostracized for doing so. All right. Let's see here. We're almost done. This is going to be dark purple. Why not? I'm afraid to introduce any more colors. All right, last thing we need is, what color is this chick's outfit? Thanks, Brian. Oh. Curious, HB. Are you I'm okay. I'll wait for you to come back and let me know. I need to use a color I've already used. I'll do the lightest color here. Why not? And then I'll go in and we'll do our shading and we're done. My goal was to try and start making these only an hour long, not an hour and a half or even longer. But when we're chatting, especially when we're reading, it ends up taking me this long just to get the page done. It's at the record end. Nope, one more. Okay. All right, let's bust through these shadings. More proof of your precog. I didn't hear your question because of an ad. Oh, I don't know what my question was. I think I was trying to figure out what color to color her. I don't think it was important. This is what I need. All right, we're gonna do our shadows on the cushions. Make sure you guys can see. Hello. Why am I so... Yeah, your meeting. I remember the meeting, but I thought that you had the dream after you knew you were having the meeting. Maybe I misunderstood. Bye, Rob. I know, I'm going to be off here soon. I will see you on Monday, hopefully. The theologians are fascinated and overwhelmed. Very true. We are going... Is it a snail? You're going slow? Is that what you're saying? Do another... Kind of bring a little shadow inside the book here. These shadows at first, I always think they look a little intense, but once the ink dries down a little bit, it looks really nice. Okay, we'll get the spider web. And I've already done some of the shading, so this shouldn't take too long. I'm not going to do a background on air anyways. I may not do a background at all, but that's the one color I didn't bring anywhere else, was the baseboard color. That's okay. Is she stepping on the gas? Now I think that record's done. Yep. Okay. We're almost done, we're almost done. Let's go. I say if you're talking about it, it means that you're not doing it. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. That's interesting. Okay, hold on. I was debating on switching the record, but I've changed my mind. Okay, nice picture. Thanks, Andy. All right, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Also, I understand if anyone needs to run away. I've been on here forever today. But we're almost done. In the Halloween book, I always like to give him a little shadow under the eyes. I don't know why. Enough of that. Keep it moving. Oh, Brian, what'd you take away? Maybe HB. I'm gonna read it and see how long it goes. And see, we can poll the audience here, see if everyone would like me to keep reading from your book. I'm open to it. Okay, enough of that. I just put a marker back that I wasn't done with. There it is. Gotta get this little spider here. And I need to get this yellow back. Should I do 225? Doesn't matter. Yeah. We're so close. You guys are so patient. Actually, I think I did that shading earlier. Put that one away. BO25, what are you? The darker blue. Don't need that. I don't think you'd see it even if I tried. BGO5 is my baseboard. I don't need that. All right. Just a few more. I'm going to do this yellowy green rug. I can hear my neighbors. Kind of it for the yellow, huh? Okay. I don't think I need this dark purple for anything. Maybe just a little shadow on his feet. If I wanted to get crazy, I could start introducing the Posca paint markers and doing some stuff, but this already takes long enough. All right. Last color to shade, and then we're getting off. Yes, please like and sub. Wouldn't that be entertaining? So Brian, you're voting yes to reading the next chapter of HB's book? Nice. One sentence at a time. Changing the world one sentence at a time, or you want me to read it one sentence at a time? It's usually how I read, you know. Why does she look angry? I just noticed her eyebrows. That's a little messy there. Oh well. It's just coloring. I think we're done. This really light color is really not showing up much, but like it looks like I didn't even color her, so we'll do one more layer. Thank you guys for being here. If anyone's still sitting here and you're not already subbed or you haven't liked the live, please do. I've told you guys 1,000 times. I don't know what happened, but my viewership has plummeted. I don't know if it's because of the topics or if it's because I'm boring, but it's not going super well and I'm determined to not give up. So any engagement you guys want to have, that would be fantastic. Let's see. It's the best way too. Yeah, we're looking at Monday. Okay. Let's get me centered here so you guys can see the photo. Yeah, okay. So Monday, there we go. Now you can see it. I mean, you say outside has more views, but for the last month of being outside, it's plummeted. So like the viewership dropped well before I came inside. Like if you go back and watch, like it I don't know what happened. I was going from 1,000 up to 2,000 views to 80, 60, 100, 40, you know. It's not gotten better since I've gotten inside, but it definitely got worse before I came inside. I think it got worse around when I started including the actual coloring page, which really surprises me because I think that this is interesting and it gives us something to do together and talk about. So I'm not, at least right now, I'm not planning on not doing the dual POV because I think it's interesting. But maybe no one else does. Either way, I'm going to jump. Thank you guys so much for being here. HB, thank you for allowing me to read from your book. I can't make Monty come out here more either. That's the other thing. There's nothing I can do. That dog has free will. I'm sure people would respond better to having him in the screen because everyone likes dogs, especially big, cute dogs, but he's his own person. I can't make him sit here and hang out if he doesn't want to. Do you say no thank you? No thank you what? I'll thank you. But, all right, guys, I'm going to go. Enjoy the rest of your week. I will talk to you guys on Monday. I'll probably do Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week because of Halloween. So I'll see you guys soon, okay? Bye.